if you pay attention closely, the mask is starting to come off. There's a group of people out there that have for a long time believed that they were just a little bit better than the rest of us. And no, it's not just government. There's a large group of people that believe that they have had to tolerate the religious, tolerate Christians. They have relegated religious activities to more of a social function and not really anything other than just a curiosity. Well, now, when people want to gather and pray and worship and go that road in an attempt to protect themselves and hedge round about their lives, these people are getting angry, and they are cooking up stories now to prevent this. I know many are out there like, that seems like a stretch. Well, it's not. It's really not. There was a joke that I had heard a long time ago about some scientists that at some point in the future had believed they were so advanced that they no longer needed God. So they called up God one day and said, you know, we think religion is more of a problem than what it's worth, so we would like you to move on. We can take care of ourselves now. God said, okay, we'll just give you one test. And he grabs up a handful of dirt and creates a human being. He says, okay, can you do this? So the scientists go over and they grab up a handful of dirt. And God says, oh, no, wait a minute. Get your own dirt. Sometimes it takes people a minute to get that one. There is this thing going on now where they are talking about asymptomatic transmission. This is just code. There is never going to be a time in the future where you will be able to say, see that healthy person over there? He's not a danger to society. He couldn't possibly transmit a virus. Leave him be. That was never the truth in the past. It will never be the truth in the future. Even if I took a test right now that said I was virus-free, and then I go touch the wrong door handle, guess what? I could do it 10 minutes from now. I could do it 10 hours from now. This idea that you restrict the movements of people who have no indication that they are sick at all, based on the idea that they could possibly be an asymptomatic carrier. Guys, that's not a little step. That's a big step. When you say, see all those people over there, those 500 people who want to go to church, and none of them are showing symptoms of any sickness whatsoever, we can't take the chance that one or two or three of them might be asymptomatic carriers of this, that, or the other. We can't take that chance. So we have to bar them from meeting. And it's okay because we're also telling the drunk people over here at this bar that they can't meet either. So there's no equal protection violation, pardon me. They're also taking people who put out information like mine, and they are replacing that information with information that they deem more fit to be heard. This is what's going on. And all of you out there, and I still have a lot of viewers, that say, oh, it's only for a certain amount of time. It's only for a certain amount of time. When has the government ever taken something from the people and given it back? You want to hear a real good example that happens in your everyday life, naysayer, about this? December 7th, 1941, the day that shall live in infamy, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. We had to ramp up for war. Do you know what Congress did? Congress created this temporary provision where instead of waiting until April 15th to allow Americans to pay taxes, they created this temporary stopgap measure to raise money where they could take taxes out of your paycheck weekly. And people at that time stood up and said, oh no, 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 we are never going to give the government this leeway. And then, of course, the quote unquote reasonable folks said, we will make it temporary. We will make it so that they will have to reauthorize this on an annual basis. And when we don't need this anymore, and when the emergency is passed, we will then go back to just normal April 15th. Well, guess what? It has been reauthorized every single year since 1941. The provisions of the Patriot Act are far more intrusive now than they were back in 2001. If you think for 1 minute, I or anyone else who is a Christian, we're going to walk around with some kind of a get out of scorn free card, that if you think, what are you doing out? Why are you out and around? Where's your card that says you are coronavirus free? You think that's going to happen? Think again. Because that's the only end to this. That is the only way this ends. Don't you think I'm kidding? Watch, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, Anderson Cooper. He just flipped out because he found out that apparently the governor of Georgia was unaware of this asymptomatic transmission nonsense. Asymptomatic transmission can occur with any disease. I could get the flu, or let's say I go touch the wrong door handle 15 minutes from now. And now I've got this on my hands. And let's say that I touch another door handle and I transmit it to that door handle, and then some innocent person comes along and gets it from there. You're saying that because that could occur, because that might happen, we can now step in as the government and say, you can't go here, you can't go there. That's not necessary. That's too risky a behavior. That's too big a group. Really, is that what you honestly believe is going to be the case, naysayer? That at some point the governments go, all clear, everything's better now. We're over the hump. We've made it past. We can go back to everybody just mingling and going about life as they did before. You really think that's going to happen if we let this stand? Because that's what they're saying. Right now, people are getting angry because people like me are like, you know what? We're done. We're not putting up with this for another 30 days. This, somehow we have to apologize to these whiny crybabies. Why does my life mean so little to you? Or why does the life of the elderly people that could possibly could somehow get sick why does that mean so little to you? Bullshit. That's trap. That's a lie. There's so much psychological operations, nonsense assumption in there. I could do a whole video on it. The idea that you would be for this, the idea that you would even stand for it or not speak up and say a word about it, is more frightening than the government wanting to do it, to be honest. It really, really is. Because who knows what a day brings? Someone could get the virus, go to the hospital, get cured of it, do their quarantine, get their little certification, and they could go catch the flu the next day and die of that. Or 1,000 other things. And they could get me sick. Am I saying that because they've demonstrated that they clearly don't take care of themselves well enough to keep from getting sick, that they should have their movements watched, restricted, and they should always have to submit at whatever time or whatever time frame we say for testing to make sure that they're okay to be in society? or have their little I have the antibodies card, some little pin I've got to walk around with. Oh, wait, that could be forged. So we would have to have something unforgeable, maybe something like, like we do with pets now, where they have these little chips that they implant. And then the government can just update them through Wi-Fi. It's real great. You have the chip, they implant it, and you go home and you just log it on to your Wi-Fi, and or even Bluetooth. They could update it with all of the tests that you have, and then on demand, any police officer or a public servant can walk up to you and just scan you and go, yep, this guy's had his inoculations. This girl has had her shots. Keep dreaming. Not going to happen. Because of your petty, petulant little fear, secular fear. Because you worship governments and you worship pharmacies and sorcerers. And the reason you hear Christians sometimes conflate those two words is because the two words are the same thing. If you look it up in the concordance, when the Bible talks about sorcery and sorcerers, the root word is pharmakia. This is for a long time people have said it's coming. Guess what? It's at the front door right now. Naysayer. So I want you to be very clear about who you are and what group of people you represent and who we are and who represents us. Just to be abundantly clear about it. So, I've spoken my piece on this. Choose wisely where you stand. Like, share, subscribe.